Welcome to the Tribute Room. I'm Paul. This channel is a heartfelt space dedicated to remembering extraordinary lives that left a lasting mark on the world. Here, we honor beloved figures from film, music, television, and culture, celebrating their achievements, their influence, and the memories they gave us. Through every tribute, their legacy continues to live on with meaning and grace. David Lynch was far more than a filmmaker. He was an artist who changed the way audiences understood storytelling. Born on January 20, 1946, Lynch developed a distinctive style that blended ordinary life with dreamlike, mysterious imagery, creating stories that could feel familiar one moment and deeply strange the next. His influence reached beyond cinema into television, painting, photography, and music, making him one of the most versatile creative figures of his generation. Over a career spanning 5 decades, he created a body of work that challenged audiences to look beyond conventional explanations and embrace uncertainty. The word Lynchian eventually became associated with his unmistakable approach to surreal and atmospheric storytelling. His achievements included an Academy Honorary Award, the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and a Lifetime Achievement Golden Lion at Venice. After facing serious health difficulties in his later years, Lynch died in 2025, yet his artistic legacy remains remarkably powerful, continuing to inspire filmmakers and audiences around the world. Dylan Carter stepped onto the Voice stage with a quiet confidence, carrying a dream that had stayed with him for years. During his blind audition, he spoke about how much it would mean to see Reba McEntire turn her chair. Then, in a remarkable moment, every coach turned for him. Seeing Reba, John Legend, Niall Horan, and Gwen Stefani facing him was almost overwhelming, especially for someone who described himself as a person who rarely ventured far from home in South Carolina. But behind that unforgettable performance was something deeply personal. Dylan carried the memory of his late mother, a woman who had always encouraged his musical dreams. After several unsuccessful attempts, he finally earned his place on the show and performed a song connected to her memory. Choosing Reba as his coach, he embraced the opportunity to grow, proving that perseverance can turn years of disappointment into one extraordinary moment. Emily Gould's passing left the entertainment and school communities deeply saddened. At just 17, she had already made an impression through her passion for dance and cheerleading, appearing alongside her Los Osos high school teammates during the 19th season of America's Got Talent. Her energy, discipline, and enthusiasm helped the team reach the quarterfinals, where their journey eventually came to an end. Although their competition run was brief, Emily's performances connected with audiences and became a meaningful part of her young career. Her death in September 2024 was later confirmed by authorities, leaving her family, friends, classmates, and supporters struggling to understand the loss. In the days that followed, people came together to remember Emily not simply as a performer, but as a daughter, student, teammate, and friend. Tributes highlighted the warmth and dedication she brought to those around her. Her story continues to encourage greater compassion, reminding us that every young person deserves support, understanding, and someone willing to listen. Josh Marrow's story was defined by discipline, perseverance, faith, and a deep commitment to family. Born in St. Albans, England in 1990, he moved to Texas as a young child and quickly found his place in football. At L.D. Bell High School, he emerged as a promising defensive player before continuing his development at Stanford University. Although he went undrafted in 2014, Marrow refused to let that setback define him. He earned opportunities with several NFL teams and eventually built a career through determination and consistency, appearing in dozens of games and becoming known as a dependable presence on defense. Away from football, those who knew him remembered a man whose character and family relationships meant more than statistics or recognition. His death on April 23, 2026, at only 35, came as a profound shock. His family confirmed the loss, while the circumstances surrounding it remained private. Marrow leaves behind a legacy of perseverance, professionalism, and quiet strength. Les Mills, the Olympic athlete, businessman, and former mayor of Auckland, died on June 29, 2026, at the age of 91, leaving behind a legacy that reached far beyond the sporting arena. Born in New Zealand, Mills represented his country at 4 Olympic Games, competing in both shot put and discus throw, and earning recognition as one of the nation's accomplished athletes. But his influence did not end when he stepped away from competition. Through Les Mills International, he helped transform the way people approached exercise, bringing energetic group fitness programs and aerobics into gyms around the world. What began as a family fitness business eventually became a globally recognized name in modern exercise. Mills also served as mayor of Auckland, New Zealand's largest city, adding public service to an already remarkable career. From athletics to fitness and politics, his life was defined by ambition, discipline, and a lasting commitment to inspiring others to stay active. Actress Patricia Green died on July 9, 2026, at the age of 95, leaving behind a remarkable legacy in British broadcasting. She became best known for playing Jill Archer on the long-running BBC Radio 4 soap opera The Archers, a role she began in 1957 and continued for an extraordinary 68 years, until 2025. Her dedication to the character earned her a Guinness World Record as the longest-serving actor on a soap opera, a distinction that reflected not only her longevity but also the lasting connection audiences developed with her work. Beyond radio, Green also appeared in several roles on the television soap opera Crossroads, further establishing herself as a familiar presence in British entertainment. Across decades of changing television and radio, she remained a dependable and respected performer whose career spanned generations. Her passing marks the end of an extraordinary chapter in British broadcasting history, remembered through the characters and performances that made her career so enduring. Before the world knew her as Gladys Knight, she was a little girl in Atlanta whose voice seemed far larger than her years. Born on May 28, 1944, Gladys grew up in a deeply musical family where gospel was woven into everyday life. Her parents, Merrill and Elizabeth Knight, encouraged music, faith, and family, and Gladys quickly discovered that singing gave her a way to express emotions she could not yet explain. At only 7 years old, she appeared on Ted Mack's original Amateur Hour and won the competition, an extraordinary achievement for a child. The prize money was substantial for her family, but the experience also changed the direction of her life. Performing stopped being something she simply enjoyed and became something she was expected to pursue seriously. Soon, her brother Merrill Bubba Knight, sister Brenda, and cousins William Guest and Edward Patton joined her, forming the group that would eventually become Gladys Knight and the Pips. They performed wherever opportunities appeared, gradually developing the sound and choreography that would become their signature. But Gladys was still growing up. While other children experienced school, friendships, and ordinary weekends, she was learning how to travel, perform, and handle audiences. Her childhood was disappearing beneath stage lights. The little girl who once sang because she loved music was becoming the central figure in a professional operation that would eventually take her across America and beyond. Growing up too fast. By the time Gladys reached her teenage years, entertainment had become more than a family activity. It was a demanding profession. In the early 1960s, Gladys Knight and the Pips signed with VJ Records and released Every Beat of My Heart, a recording that became a major rhythm and blues success and crossed over to the pop audience. Gladys was still remarkably young, yet she was already touring and performing alongside established artists. The road introduced her to a world of long journeys, unfamiliar cities, hotel rooms, demanding schedules, and constant expectations. Success brought excitement, but it also required discipline. There was no guarantee that the next performance would be as strong as the last, and every new song had to compete for attention in a rapidly changing music industry. At 18, Gladys married her high school sweetheart, James Newman, hoping that marriage could provide some sense of normal life. but touring and the demands of her growing career made stability difficult. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1963. For a young woman who had spent much of her life believing that hard work could solve almost anything, the failure of her first marriage was a painful lesson. Talent could open doors, but it could not guarantee happiness. The Pips continued recording and touring, moving between record labels and searching for the breakthrough that would finally establish them as major stars. Gladys was learning that success was rarely a straight line. The Motown years. In 1966, Gladys Knight and the Pips signed with Motown Records, one of the most influential music companies of the era. Motown was home to artists who were changing American popular culture, including the Supremes, the Temptations, Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder. Joining the label gave Gladys and the Pips access to exceptional producers, musicians, writers, and promotional opportunities. Yet it also placed them inside a highly controlled system. Motown understood how to package performers, from songs and choreography to clothing and public presentation. Gladys possessed a powerful voice and a natural emotional intensity that could not easily be contained within a formula. Their early Motown releases performed respectably, but the group did not immediately receive the same level of attention as some of the label's biggest acts. Then came I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Gladys and the Pips recorded their version in 1966, and it became a major hit when released the following year. Her vocal performance carried a mixture of suspicion, hurt, and determination that made the song unforgettable. The record reached number 1 on the R&B chart and became one of the defining recordings of the group's career. Yet the later success of Marvin Gaye's version sometimes overshadowed the contribution Gladys had already made. For her, the experience reflected the complicated nature of the music business. Even when an artist created something extraordinary, another interpretation could eventually become the version the wider public remembered most. Leaving the box. Gladys Knight and the Pips continued producing major recordings during their Motown years, including The End of Our Road, Friendship Train, If I Were Your Woman, and Neither One of Us. Their success demonstrated that they were not dependent on a single hit. Gladys had developed into one of the most distinctive voices in popular music, while the Pips had created a recognizable combination of harmonies, choreography, and stage presence. Yet the group increasingly wanted greater control over its artistic direction. Their experience at Motown had given them visibility, but they wanted freedom to evolve. The decision to leave the label became an important turning point. In 1973, Neither One of Us became a major hit, reaching the top of the R&B chart and earning Gladys her first Grammy Award. By then, she had spent more than 2 decades performing. She was no longer the little girl who had won a television talent competition. She was a mature artist with a growing reputation and an increasingly clear understanding of her own worth. The success also created new possibilities. Gladys and the Pips moved to Butter Records, where they entered one of the most successful periods of their career. The transition proved that leaving a powerful institution could be frightening but necessary. Gladys had spent years learning how to succeed within systems created by other people. Now she was beginning to build a career with greater control over her own direction, a new chapter. The move to Buddha Records produced some of Gladys Knight and the Pips' most celebrated work. Songs such as Midnight Train to Georgia became enormous successes and established the group as one of the defining acts of the 1970s. Gladys's voice could communicate longing without becoming theatrical, while the Pips provided harmonies and choreography that gave their performances a distinctive identity. The song became a cultural landmark and eventually earned the group a Grammy Award. Their music connected with audiences because it sounded emotionally honest. Gladys did not sing about heartbreak as an abstract idea. She made it sound like something a real person had experienced. But while her professional life was reaching new heights, her personal life remained complicated. In 1974, she married Barry Hankerson. The relationship eventually became difficult, particularly as professional and personal responsibilities became intertwined. Gladys was balancing motherhood, touring, recording, and business concerns while attempting to protect her independence. Her family remained central to her life, including her children from different relationships. At the same time, the demands of being the lead figure in a famous group created pressure within the Pips themselves. They were family as well as colleagues, and years of touring could test even the strongest relationships. Gladys carried much of the public attention, but she never performed entirely alone. The success belonged to all of them, even when the spotlight naturally fell most heavily on her. Life behind the spotlight. Gladys's private relationships also brought difficult lessons. Her first marriage had ended after only a few years, and later relationships presented their own challenges. She eventually became involved in a long-term marriage that also ended, leaving her to reconsider what she expected from love and partnership. Public attention often simplifies celebrity relationships into stories of romance and scandal, but real relationships are rarely that simple. Gladys had to balance emotional needs with an unusually demanding career and a public identity that made privacy difficult. There were periods when she experienced conflict, disappointment, and the realization that staying in an unhappy situation was not the same as preserving love. Over the years, she became more open about the importance of recognizing unhealthy patterns and choosing personal well-being. Her experiences also reinforced an important contrast in her music. She became famous for singing about devotion, loyalty, heartbreak, and reconciliation, yet her own life showed that love could be complicated and that relationships sometimes end despite genuine affection. Rather than making her music less authentic, those experiences gave it greater emotional depth. Every performance carried the perspective of someone who understood both the joy and vulnerability of commitment. Gladys's personal life never followed the perfect narrative that audiences might have expected from an entertainer associated with warmth and romance. Instead, it reflected the uncertainty that exists in ordinary human relationships, only magnified by fame, family, loss, and healing. For Gladys, family remained one of the strongest sources of meaning throughout the turbulence of her career. She experienced the responsibilities and joys of motherhood while continuing to perform, and she maintained close connections with members of the Pips, many of whom were relatives. The passing of loved ones added another dimension to her understanding of time. Losing people who had shared the earliest chapters of her life reminded her that success cannot protect anyone from grief. Her career could fill arenas, but it could not prevent empty chairs at family gatherings or quiet moments when memories returned unexpectedly. She continued to sing through those experiences, sometimes finding that music offered a language for emotions that ordinary conversation could not capture. Her faith also remained an important part of how she understood hardship and recovery. Rather than presenting herself as someone who had found simple answers to difficult questions, Gladys increasingly embodied a quieter form of resilience. She accepted that grief could remain part of a person's life without making life meaningless. That understanding became visible in her later performances, where the voice remained powerful, but carried additional emotional weight. Decades of experience had changed the meaning behind the songs. Love was no longer simply romance. It included family, memory, forgiveness, disappointment, and endurance. Gladys had lived long enough to understand that a successful life could contain extraordinary joy and extraordinary sorrow at the same time. The Pips and the Journey. The story of Gladys Knight cannot be separated from the Pips. Merrill, Bubba Knight, William Guest, and Edward Patton were not merely backup performers. They were part of the sound, identity, and history that made the group distinctive. Their harmonies and choreography helped frame Gladys's voice, while their shared history created a sense of family that audiences could feel on stage. For decades, they traveled together, recorded together, and endured the pressures of the music industry together. Eventually, changing circumstances and the natural passage of time brought the group's performing career to an end. The separation was bittersweet because the Pips had been part of Gladys's life since childhood. Their story had begun when she was still a girl and continued through some of the greatest moments in her career. Few musical groups can claim such a long and intimate history. The Pips helped Gladys become more than a solo singer. They gave her a musical environment in which her voice could become part of something larger. Their success also challenged the idea that a lead singer alone creates a group's identity. Every harmony, dance step, arrangement, and shared performance contributed to the legacy. Even after the group stopped performing regularly, the music remained. Their recordings preserved the sound of a family that had grown up together and transformed decades of hard work into an enduring contribution to American music, becoming the Empress. By the time Gladys Knight entered the later stages of her career, the nickname Empress of Soul had become more than a promotional phrase. It reflected the extraordinary durability of her voice and her ability to remain relevant across generations. She earned multiple Grammy Awards and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside the Pips, recognizing a career that had crossed boundaries between gospel, R&B, soul, pop, and country. Her influence reached beyond record sales. She became an example of how a singer could maintain emotional authenticity while adapting to changing musical landscapes. Younger performers continued to draw inspiration from her phrasing, tone, and stage presence. Yet Gladys's legacy was never based solely on technical ability. Her greatest strength was emotional communication. She could make a song about heartbreak sound personal without making it feel artificial. She could turn longing into something audiences felt physically. That quality had been present when she was a child singing gospel, and it remained decades later. Fame had changed, music had changed, and the entertainment business had changed, but the central instrument remained the same. Her voice had matured rather than disappeared. Instead of trying to recreate her youth, Gladys embraced the authority that came with experience. The woman singing later in life was not attempting to become the girl from Atlanta again. She was carrying that girl forward, along with everything she had learned. Beyond the records, Gladys's career eventually expanded beyond recording and touring. She appeared in television and film, participated in charitable work, and continued performing for audiences around the world. She became an entertainer whose identity was larger than any single song. Midnight Train to Georgia remained one of the most recognizable recordings associated with her, but her catalog contained decades of work that demonstrated her versatility. She also remained connected to gospel, the musical foundation of her childhood, and often returned to that tradition in her performances. That connection mattered because it revealed where her voice had truly begun. Before chart positions and awards, there had been church music. Before international tours, there had been family gatherings. Before the title of Empress of Soul, there had been a little girl learning that singing could communicate feelings words could not. Her later career therefore felt like a return to her roots, as much as a continuation of her fame. She did not need to prove that she was still young. She had already achieved something more difficult: longevity. Remaining relevant for decades requires adaptation, humility, and an ability to understand changing audiences without losing one's identity. Gladys accomplished that, while preserving the emotional character that had distinguished her from the beginning. Her career became a bridge between generations, allowing listeners who had discovered her in the 1960s and 1970s to share the music with children and grandchildren who encountered it much later. The woman behind the voice. For many people, Gladys Knight represents strength because her voice has always sounded certain. But her life reveals that certainty on stage does not mean certainty everywhere else. She experienced failed relationships, professional disappointments, financial difficulties, family losses, and periods when the demands of fame became overwhelming. None of these experiences diminished the value of her career. If anything, they help explain why her performances have remained so emotionally convincing. She knows what it means to lose something. She knows that love can change, that success can disappear, and that people who seem permanent in one chapter may not remain there forever. She also learned that rebuilding is not a single dramatic moment. It happens through thousands of smaller choices: continuing to work, reaching out to family, returning to music, learning from mistakes, forgiving oneself, allowing time to pass. Gladys's resilience, therefore, should not be understood as an absence of pain. It is the ability to continue living fully while carrying the memories of pain. Her smile became famous, but it was never the whole story. Behind it was a woman who had experienced enough of life to understand that happiness is not something that remains untouched. It changes shape. At different points, happiness might have meant a successful song, a family gathering, a quiet morning, or simply knowing that she had survived another difficult season, still standing. At 80, Gladys Knight remains a living connection between the early days of modern soul music and the world of contemporary entertainment. Her career began when she was a child and continued through extraordinary changes in American music, culture, technology, and society. She witnessed the rise of Motown, the transformation of R&B, the emergence of new recording formats, the decline of the traditional record industry, and the growth of digital music. Through all those changes, her voice remained recognizable. But perhaps the most remarkable part of her legacy is not how long she remained famous. It is how much she endured without allowing hardship to erase her identity. The little girl who won a television talent competition could never have known the scale of the life ahead of her. She could not have predicted the awards, the chart-topping records, the sold-out performances, the business challenges, the heartbreak, the family losses, or the decades of public attention. Yet she continued forward through every chapter. Her story reminds us that the people we admire from a stage are still human beings when the lights disappear. Their victories do not cancel their wounds, and their wounds do not cancel their victories. Gladys Knight's crown was never simply made of trophies or hit records. It was made from persistence. She learned to survive disappointment without surrendering joy, to carry grief without surrendering love, and to continue creating after the world had already declared her a legend. The Empress of Soul remains standing because the woman beneath the title never stopped moving forward.